Incoming transmission.
Hey everybody, this is Ed with Boosting the Signal, and this week my guest is Colin Coughtrey. You know him best online as Cardboard Colin. Hey Colin, how's it going? And welcome to the show.
Hey Ed, well, thank you very much for having me on the show. Absolutely delighted to be here. Yeah, everything's going super well. It's my day off today, so I'm preparing, looking at all my stock, all my art stock, and for my day off from my day job, and then recovering from being at a convention yesterday, doing sort of bits and bobs around the house. So perfect time to have a little geeky natter with you about some Star Trek and stuff.
Well, I appreciate that. I love it when you share the pictures when you're at the conventions and stuff, especially of your booth. I'm very guilty of screenshotting, zooming in, and that way I can take a look at everything else. And I recently was talking with Ellie about how, I see so many things that I want, and a lot of it came down to tariffs. And it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
but that seems to be coming to an end here soon. So fingers crossed. I know
yeah,
a few pieces of your art that I want to have hanging on my wall.
yeah. I'm sure
Uh,
we can make that happen for you. Yeah,
oh,
no
I'm
problem.
sure.
We can make that happen. We can make that
I
happen.
But yeah, as I was gonna say, I love you have an eclectic grouping of art, and it leads me to wonder, like, I mean, like I see Labyrinth, I see Doctor Who, I see Star Trek, and these are the three things that automatically caught my attention. But then,
Hmm.
but like, there are so many other things behind things that I don't see, and you have a very eclectic love of, at least it appears to be an eclectic love of genre things, or is it just, do you create based on interest or what people request?
Yeah, so hopefully I come across as authentic in terms of I am just the biggest fanboy geek in the world. And I was basically brought up on comics and sci-fi. From literally my first memories of watching stuff was, I'm old enough to remember like not actually watch the original runs, but the reruns of Star Trek, Batman 66. Obviously, I was peak Star Wars time growing up. I'm a 77 baby, so
Me too.
um, perfect. So you'll be very aware then. I mean, we were in a fantastic time of pop culture. I mean, comics were so accessible. Comics were on the newsstand everywhere. So grew up reading Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, all the things I love, Justice League. Um, Star Trek was always there, but it wasn't really till Next Gen came on that I absolutely fell in love with Star Trek. I was always a fan, always loved watching it. Anything with a spaceship or superhero, I'd watch. Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica, all that sort of stuff. Um, and then, like I say, as I started to get a little bit older and actually understand the stuff I was watching, reading, up heavily into comics, massive comic collector. So that fulfilled all that sort of superhero need. And Star Trek really came in just at that gap. So Star Wars, which was obviously a big love for me, and anyone who follows me on Instagram will see that I've got a million Star Wars stuff, and that's probably one of my biggest passions alongside Star Trek. But it was a big gap, from '87 really, around that, to the early '90s. There was no Star Wars, and that's really when I fell in love with Star Trek. And I was, like I say, the right age for Next Gen. And then by the time Deep Space Nine and Voyager came on, I was absolutely hooked. Everything about Star Trek, just fantastic. And hopefully that's come across in my art. So been on a bit of a journey. Haven't always, so I've always done art. Went to college, did art, but decided to get a real job. Lacked the confidence to really have a go at being a proper artist, and so created a career. I'm quite successful in community development and working in leisure and that type of stuff. But more recently, particularly since COVID, I've just been feeling this urge to be drawing again and get painting. Luckily, because I did work in leisure, I had a year off on furlough. So it was a chance for me to really get drawing again. And I've always gone to Comic Cons. And as you mentioned, my moniker, the Cardboard Colin name, I've always listened to podcasts as well. So since they came along in sort of the early 2000s, and there was a British podcast called The Hat Decides, and they were doing a competition for a crappy cardboard cosplay competition. And the three hosts were going to go to a local Comic Con in London, and they said anyone who wants to join in, come down, make a crappy cardboard costume, and we'll see who's the worst. And it was only me turned up alongside the three hosts.
Well, that's how
uh,
you win.
and it became super great friends with those guys. Matt, John, and Tim. Got to shout them out. Um, they stopped podcasting not long after. I think they gave up. It was too much hard work. But I just carried on making the cosplays. I love going to conventions and meeting people and geeking out about stuff. And so wearing the costumes became a bit of a thing. But like I say, then since the past few years, turned that love into actually drawing the art and having stalls myself at conventions.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and your cardboard costumes are so so eclectic too. I mean, I love of all the ones I've seen, and I've gone through and I've looked at them and I've been following you for quite some time, but my absolute favorite, of course, is the Shaun of the Dead Scotty that you
Yeah,
had. And I thought that was the most I love the fact that not only was it the costume, but it was a mashup costume, and that one really caught my attention. I remember looking at it going, what is
what?
I don't yeah like you're like what am I looking at and then eventually I had to read. I'm like, oh, I get it, I see it, and then but yeah, you've got that, and then you do I want to say it's not just a regular Cardassian but the Ducat
Yeah.
that was really well done, and your Tuvix when you did Tuvix I was like, oh yeah, okay, it was like, but I kept waiting, like I was like, it's like, is it going to split apart and suddenly become two different costumes, or
That would have been cool. I could have turned it round and yeah, had I didn't even think of that. Oh,
oh, well,
gutted.
it's okay. Or,
Oh,
or
good.
there's the future idea,
That
or
is
if you have
neat.
someone that is willing to dress up with you, have a Tuvok and a Neelix,
Yeah,
I was
that
like,
would be cool. The cardboard costumes, like I say, I love making them. They're just and now just supposed to be fun. They are, don't take them too seriously. And like that reaction, that what is pretty much the normal reaction I get when someone sees me for the first time walking around in a bit of cardboard. Some people don't quite know what they're looking at, but hopefully people can work out what that's supposed to be. I do tend to try and do more like monsters or things that are a little bit out there rather than just a typical one because it's hard to draw faces on cardboard. And two, two because you just want something that looks cool and it tends. So I get carried away. On my Instagram, you'll probably find it if you scroll through. I've got I did an elongated man for when there was all like the heroes and villains
okay.
convention, and then so all the DC Arrowverse characters were there, including the guy that was playing on Gated Man. So I thought, oh, I'll make a elongated man costume. That'd be easy. It was so massive, and I couldn't walk around anywhere. I had to go into the disabled lanes to try and get to any of the queues. It was a big mistake, but. Well, people liked it, but it was very difficult. So I have to try and remember when I'm making these things in my garage that actually I've got to wear this thing. That's the hard bit. But
Yeah, and
having
now just out of curiosity, like I know, like when you were at STLV, you had taken a different costume for every day, and I can only imagine the logistics of packing. Or did you make them there? I mean, what how did that work out? Did
no,
you?
so there's two types of card. I tend to either just get a load of card and make something really big,
Mm,
or I've sort of created the art of doing these single sort of almost like A board um bits of cardboard where I just literally roll up some corrugated card and you can just roll it super tight.
okay.
So I can fit like four costumes in a suitcase now.
Wow.
Uh, so that's how I do those, and they literally just go over my shoulders. They've got a front and a back and a head, and I can't be too. So it does sort of stifle some of my more out there creativity because I can't really make some of the costumes I'd love to make, especially when going somewhere like Vegas. But hopefully, like I say, they still look okay, and people can work out what I'm trying to be. So that's
Now,
cool.
just out of curiosity, now I'm assuming you don't keep them because the space requirements would be astronomical. But like in a situation like STLV, did you discard them there or?
Some of it. I mean, what we used again when I made them with those three guys from the Hack the Size podcast. the whole point was at the end we'd rip them up and have a ceremony putting them in the bin, which was quite fun. Um, but what I've tended to do is I try to keep the heads because they look nice and I can fold them up and put them in a folder. Um, but the rest normally go in the bin. However, I do keep a couple just because even though I do try to make new ones every time I go to a new con, sometimes there's just not the time. So I keep a couple just in case. So I actually have still got the ones from the last STLV in my garage, but I'm I'm obviously planning to make a few more for this year's for the 60th anniversary, which I'm super excited to be going to. I'm so pleased I managed to get tickets for the event in August. That's going to be super cool.
Well, thank you for not being on the boat this week. I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm so sad. I've been looking at all the pictures of people like Sean on there, and just really, really gutted.
Well, that was like I had messaged Sean. I think it was the day before, and he answered, and I kept thinking, oh, I felt bad because I was looking at the time, and I was like, oh, it's middle of the night. And then he's like, no, no, I'm in the States. I went, oh, okay. Oh, then I figured it out. It was like, I was like, I felt so sad. But yeah, the cruise is something it's on a bucket list, but it costs, what's that thing? It's called money, and I don't have all that. So,
No, no.
um,
No,
but
my
yeah.
my big thing's always the Vegas. I try and save my money up for that one. I've been very very lucky to be able to go for the past couple of years. Definitely going to be there this year. Not sure about future years. It really depends money wise. But now that I'm a poor starving artist and moving more towards giving up the day job and doing more art, I'm going to have to cut some of those things back, unfortunately.
I get it. Now you do make the convention appearances and stuff. Now this is going to air like first week of April. Do you have places that you'll be appearing throughout the year? Do you have your year schedule out, or like is it?
Yeah, yeah, I've already got about another 15 events planned for this year in the UK, and I'll be at from April, Woking, Maidstone, Collector Mania in Milton Keynes, which is quite a big one. London Film and Comic Con at the Olympia in London. I'm at the Comic Con Midlands at the NEC in Birmingham. Um, yeah, that's just a few. So again, always the easiest thing to do is just look on my Instagram. I try to pin my schedule at the front of that. So
I'll make sure that's posted right here for everybody too.
that's cool. But yeah, and like, I just love it. I love talking to the people just going around. I love hopefully working out what the costumes are, even though as I get older, I do find it hard to work out some of the costumes now, particularly some of the manga. That's probably my sort of little blind spot is the manga type stuff. But like I say, I try and be authentic and draw the stuff I enjoy. And luckily, we're in a fantastic age of sci-fi, fantastic age for Star Trek. And there's been some fantastic things to see. So I'm still finding new things all the time. Hopefully keeping, and that's why sort of my website's Nerdy Nostalgia, and that was hopefully sums up what I'm a big nerd, and obviously a lot of the things that I'm at is really the things that we all feel nostalgia for.
Well, even outside of Trek, you mentioned manga. Like I'm the same way. I don't know much about manga. I think my extent comes, Akira, maybe Inuyasha, stuff like that. I've
Mhm.
seen, tangentially through the past. But I know Star Wars, and since you're a Star Wars guy, and you're right,
Mm.
I grew up in the same time period, the 1980s and stuff. 77, too young to go see the original Star Wars, but I did see Empire when it came out. I saw Jedi when it came out, and I've seen every Star Wars in theater. I mean, even of course you count the original. I did see it when it was 96 during the reissue.
Yeah.
So I say technically that counts. Now, when it comes to Star Wars, I'm a Han Solo and Carbonite collector. That's my big niche.
Ooh.
Like I have Star Wars stuff, but I love Han Solo and Carbonite. Something about that just resonated with me as a kid, and now that's gonna twist me over to this. I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna ask the question. There was one piece of Star Wars toy I didn't get when I was a kid, and that was Han Solo and Carbonite that came with the Slave One Boba Fett ship.
Oh
Someone had
yeah.
stolen
Yeah.
it. I didn't get it. It bothered me. So I think that became the obsession with collecting every Han Solo and Carbonite.
Hmm.
Has there ever been a Star Wars collectible that has escaped you?
Ooh, that is a very good question. I think um, definitely when I was a kid, um, in the UK, we didn't get all of the stuff that came out in the States. So there was definitely things that out there. Like there was I saw a Death Star play set that looked amazing. That was something that was never available over here in the UK. Um, I've got to say, I was spoiled. My parents fed my Star Wars enthusiasm, so pretty much I got most of. I always wanted a Chewbacca bandolier. There was like
Oh,
it was like a carrying thing to put the figures
yeah,
in.
put the figures in.
That,
I had it.
yeah,
Yep.
that was super cool. And the other thing was the land speed. I couldn't ever seem to find Luke's land speeder. But my favorite ship is the snow speeder. That is, I did not luckily have one of those. That is my absolutely favorite thing. I love Empire Strikes Back, my favorite film. Everything about Empire is just brilliant. Boba Fett. If I've got a obsession, it's Boba Fett's and Darth Vader's. I've got so many different Boba Fett figures and Darth Vader figures all over the place.
Me too. I have like now. See, I started buying the Black Series figures when they came out, but I specifically chose to only buy Mandalorians, so that's all I
Wow.
have. I only have Boba Fett. I do have
Oh,
Cobb Vanth dressed as
very
Boba
cool.
Fett, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I only have Mandalorians, and it's um, I get that. There's something about Boba Fett. I mean, we're old enough to remember his introduction and the mystique of the no disintegrations. So
I think that was the same. Both Vader and Boba Fett, obviously in the 80s when we were watching Star Wars, they were mysterious, and Boba Fett more so. Obviously, we didn't really find out anything about him till all the legends, and then obviously subsequently in the more recent times they filled it all in. You know, once the prequels came out, and we found out about Django and stuff. But before then, we had no idea what Boba Fett would look like or who he was really. He was a proper mystery man, and yeah, it was just something super cool about him. Yeah, can't have everything forever, but yeah, and I'm still a Star Wars fan. You know, so a lot of people have slated a lot of the more recent stuff, but the only thing I'm not on board with is the Last Jedi. That's the one dark spot.
but see,
But
I like the Last Jedi. I will defend that one. I think I liked it because it was different. I'm a Ryan Johnson fan, so I've always
yeah,
appreciated his writing. um Maybe the casino part, I would cut the casino part. That would be about the that does kind of run me the wrong way, but I'd always like the little kid with the broom. Thought that was a nice. I don't know why it wasn't touched on more, but whatever. To me that was us. That reminded
yeah,
me of having going. I don't know about you and your area, but like we would have local fairs, and you would get those cheap canes that would have like a wooden handle, and then like it'd be a wooden stick with different colors. And I'd want blue or I'd want green so I could have a lightsaber,
right.
you know. But I remember when my mom bought me my first lightsaber, and it was one of the big honking ones, where it was like you had to hold two hands to hold it. And but
So cool.
it's memories.
I think thing with the Last Jedi, I think the point for me was I totally get what you're saying. As a film, it's okay. There were some amazing bits in it. It looks fantastic. I've got nothing against Ryan Johnson, and to be honest, I've got nothing against what he did because it's not his fault. It was this lack of vision overall for how that trilogy was put together, and but the bit I can't stand is what they did with Luke and his journey in the films, and I think that's the bit that just really upsets me. And like I say, if that was um, another universe like tale of story, I'd have no problem with it. But the fact that that's what they decided to do with Luke and the journey with Luke, I was just, yeah, I find it hard to get over. And also the canto bite scene doesn't make any sense between Rose and Finn going back and forth to that ship. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I won't get on. I'm not going to talk anymore about The Last Jedi because I will end up just talking about that, and that will be not fun
Well,
video
I
for
don't know. There'd be a niche group that would be looking for it. Like let's hear that Last Jedi conversation.
yeah, let's
I
start a club.
But no, I get it, and you're right. The trilogy itself, that trilogy, it didn't have any cohesive story. It is three
Mm.
separate films that Force Awakens is pretty much a redo of A New Hope for all intents and purposes. I think Last Jedi wanted to be Empire, and Rise of Skywalker for all intents and purposes. That's just, hey, look at this. Look at this. You want this? Here's
It just
this.
spends the whole film fixing things, just trying
Yeah.
to, listen to what the vocal fans that had all the lot to say and trying to respond to that, and that's what really ruined that film. But I still, again, I'm a any Star Trek, any Star Wars, any of that. I'd much rather be watching that than anything else. So if I'm happy. I'm happy watching Star Wars, Star Trek. I'm
How
not
are
going
you
to moan.
feeling about the television series that they've been putting out? They've been kind of hit or miss with some fans. Now, me, I've enjoyed. I gotta say, I've enjoyed them individually, all differently. I'm a big fan of the Acolyte. I love the Acolyte, and I love Skeleton Crew. But how about you?
Yeah, again, there's something in all of them I've enjoyed. I think probably the only show that I really struggled with was Resistance, and I think that a lot of that was the animation style. To be fair, I found it really hard to watch. Their choices and not having any sort of lines around the characters was a weird choice. I just found it hard visually to engage with it. But in terms of the live action, like there's been highs and lows. The first few seasons of Mandalorian were absolutely amazing. Andor, probably one of the best TV shows made in recent times. Um, Ahsoka's fun, but it's very much it's fun because of all the callbacks to the other stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but all the animation's been super strong, I think. I love the style that they've created with the Clone Wars, and especially since coming back to it for the last season, and then they've had the same animation style for Bad Batch and Tales of a Jedi, and now the new Darth Maul show that's come in. They look fantastic. So they're just great stuff. Yeah, I'm happy. Even I like Acolyte as well. I mean, I don't get why people were so against it. I enjoyed it. It's got Jedi's. I thought Manny Code. Oh, was it Manny? What's I forgot his name. The Stranger. Anyway, he was fantastic. I thought he played
Oh,
that well.
I was gonna say, I'm thinking Manny Koto was the
Yeah,
guy that was
I've got completely the
Darth.
wrong name there. Manny, that's a matey boy from showrunner from Empire, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've
unfortunately,
got
he
too many
passed away
things.
last year. That one did.
He did, yeah, yeah.
I don't
Um,
know. The thing is, when I think of the stranger from Acolyte, I always go back to his character in
the
The
Good
Good
Place.
Place,
Yeah.
and it's just that's what I associate him with. And when I saw him, I'm like, oh hey. I was like, I
The
have
Good
his
Place,
Funko Pop.
fantastic,
Oh
fantastic
yeah,
show.
The
The
Good
Good.
Place is great. I saw it's actually streaming here in the States for the first time. Like
Oh, really?
yeah, for a long time. Like my wife and I would like to rewatch old things, and she's like, "Well, can we watch that?" And I said, "No, it wasn't anywhere. It was only on Blu-ray, and it was like uber expensive, and I wasn't gonna pay for it." And then it popped up on Hulu 2 weeks ago, and it's like, all
Oh,
right.
fantastic.
So maybe Disney Plus. You guys don't have Star anymore, though, do you? Is it just Disney Plus?
Yeah, I think they've integrated. I think they call it Hulu now here. I don't know.
Okay.
They've integrated it into the Disney because it was Stars before.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. It's sort of confused. There's
Yeah.
too many.
Well, I have a friend that lives in the UK, so like I try to keep up on what is streaming there so I can tell him, because a lot of times I like we were watching shows, and he'd say, "Oh, I want to see that, but it's not there." And I said, "Well, then I would stop posting spoilers because
Right.
I didn't want to ruin it for him for whenever it made there, because sometimes it can be a year or 2 years." And
Yeah.
and
Well, so you mentioned that you're a Doctor Who fan as well.
oh, very
Uh,
much, yes.
so what's your feelings about the fact that the war between the land and the sea hasn't even come out in the States yet?
Ugh, it bothers me so much. Like I was telling Ellie, I have all of her ups and down videos like locked in a favorites on my YouTube so that I can easily access them because I want to go back and watch them, but And now the Blu-ray is coming out this month or in February for in the UK.
Yeah.
I'm considering ordering it and just so I
Yeah.
can because I don't want to wait here. It was funny. She and I were talking Saturday morning and afternoon for her, you. And I said how like I was waiting on season 2 of Chidi's Doctor to get some sort of physical release because I was worried about it, going away.
Mm.
Literally yesterday morning they announced it. So
Oh,
like
fantastic.
yay. So
Fantastic. Okay.
pre-ordered, but yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, you
Good.
got to
Good.
have the Doctor Who's physically because you never know where they're going to be or who's going to take them away. And
Yeah.
don't get me
But
wrong, I've messed up the title of the War Between the Land and the Sea. I keep messing that one up too. It's
it's
you
so
know,
catchy, so
yeah,
easy to remember.
yeah. I was like, can
I
we just
don't
call
know
it
what they were
Colonel
thinking.
Sexy's show? That's all I know. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
I remember it. But
Yeah. I enjoyed it. That's all I'll say. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
now,
And
without
like
any
I say,
spoilers, is this going to be a one and done, or are we going to get more? You think?
I think this is it. I think
Really?
this is it. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know if it
But
was going to end up being like a Torchwood and we'd get more.
I mean, there is potential in terms of like unit doing. You could. I mean, this is the beauty of it, and I think again go back to what they said on Who Culture and Ellie's thoughts was that you could do different wars betweens and change the premise each time about
Hmm.
different aliens or different things. And with Unit, you could do a story about anything, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Different season would be a different story. But um, yeah, obviously with how it's been treated by Disney and I can't see that there's going to be anything else made.
Yeah. That's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the Disney era of Doctor Who. I thought they were all, I mean, unlike anybody else, I thought it was strange the Doctor was so emotional, but then I kind of looked at it from a different point of view. The man is thousands of years old. Okay.
Mhm.
I don't want to say the man, the individual is 1,000 years
Mhm.
old, thousands of years old. And there's been so much tragedy within their life that maybe there just comes a breaking point for whatever version, is currently within the Doctor that is, I don't want to face another death. I can't do this anymore. And that's just what I kind of kept in the back of my head. And I see, okay, yeah, he was emotional. He wasn't the 12th Doctor, the curmudgeon,
No,
he wasn't the
no,
happy-go-lucky 11th Doctor. Um, and I love every Doctor for their own way. 13 was wonderful. I think she had great stories. Um, I the only real problem I really have is, like I said, I'm a physical collector. So when the Jodie Whittaker set was released, I was excited. I'm like, I'm gonna buy them all. I don't know if it's everywhere, but here in the States, if you buy the Jodie Whittaker complete digital or complete set on physical, it doesn't
Mhm.
come with flux. You don't get
What?
flux. I don't know. It's completely separate. I'm like, it's not considered part of her journey somehow. So I
That
was,
is weird.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thought so too. So I had to buy that separate. But
Yeah. I mean, I'm a massive Doctor Who fan as well. And I, I I think they've done great choices with all of the Doctors. I think every Doctor's brought something fantastic to the show and to the character. I will say I wasn't a massive fan of Chibnall's leadership and stewardship of the show, and I felt it was probably the most I don't think he got what Doctor Who's about. Just wasn't fun enough. There wasn't any joy. I didn't feel like there was much joy to the seasons for Jodie. And again, nothing to do with her and her portrayal. And I like the Doctor, but it just wasn't a fun show to watch. I didn't look forward to it like I did with previous versions. Um, I mean, like I say, it doesn't have to be stupid comedy, or I'm not talking about it has to be funny, but it has to be something exciting about it, and I just felt it just wasn't. I think she tried, but it just didn't come across. Some of the stories were a bit too felt like it was educational rather than there for fun and
Yeah.
entertainment. Um, but yeah, I'm overall still watched it every week. Still, still actually enjoy. Most of the episodes I enjoyed. But yeah, I'm again probably similar. I'm assuming similar sort of Doctor. You always like love the Doctor when you were a kid, and so mine was probably Peter Davison was the one that I was really properly into Doctor Who in when he was the Doctor. But obviously, I love the Tom Baker run. And then when New Who came with Christopher Eccleston and all those guys, that was just fantastic.
Yeah, see, Eccleston, or well, technically, Tennant was my first Doctor. I didn't get into Doctor Who until a couple
Oh,
of
okay.
years after the revival, and I did retroactively went back and watched as much as I could because what was available, a lot of it's gone. But yeah, the Eccleston. I liked Eccleston, but I get like for me, I was already tainted with, hey, is this the guy from Gone in 60 Seconds? And Tenet, I love Tenet. Matt Smith is obviously he's my
Fantastic.
doctor.
He's fantastic.
And I yeah, so I love Matt Smith, and then Jodie. I get what you're saying about Jodie. Jodie, I love Jodie. I loved every episode to a degree, and I watched it. I didn't have the emotion that I had like when we lost her as a doctor. I didn't feel it like I had felt
Mm.
previously. I didn't even find myself quoting her, which is weird. Like I when 12 left, I still quote 12's, final words. But then again, when Jodie appeared in season 2 of the newest Doctor,
That was
or
fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, because then I missed her then all of a sudden. So I was like, all
Mm.
right, well done. Well done. You've at least you've touched me somehow. And but then it's just I don't know. I guess if it's not heartbreaking, it's not Doctor Who, I guess.
Yeah,
But
definitely. Definitely.
yeah, I love I love Doctor Who. I can't really see it. I have like 7 different TARDISes back there. I've got my oh a few Sonics laying around all over the place. So
Very
I
cool.
don't think this picks up the sound, but
No.
it the microphone doesn't pick up the sound of it. But anyway, yeah, I love Doctor Who. And honestly, that was like when it came down to creating this podcast, boosting the signal. I chose the name for a couple of different reasons. One, because it was something that someone had said to me that stuck with me. Two, I wanted to go outside of Star Trek. I love Star Trek, and that is my main point of interest. But I also
Mm.
wanted it. Star Trek just cracks that door open so we can talk about other things like Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever. If you wanna talk Space 1999, go ahead. I'm not gonna know anything, but
No, to
um,
me neither, to be fair. I did watch it, but I can't remember
yeah. And that's like I get people all the time. I've had a couple people want to talk Red Dwarf, and I'm like, I don't know anything. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it escaped me. But I love science fiction. And I have. So let me ask you a question there. If you don't do the Space 1999, what's an obscure Star Trek, obscure sci-fi show that you love that maybe somebody hasn't heard of, or something that like you saw as a kid? Because if we obviously we're the same age,
Mm.
or take, so we've probably seen the same things. So what's something that you've seen and like nobody talks
Well,
about?
I don't know if it's obscure. More here, probably, with you guys, because I think it's had a bit more of a renaissance over there. But the Battle of the Planets cartoon,
Okay.
which was the obviously it was the American remix of the Gatchaman anime
Oh,
and
okay. I see. I've seen it. I've seen it.
yeah, and so basically it was done in response to Star Wars coming out, and so similar to how Power Rangers was done, they brought the show but completely re-edited it revoiced it and created their own stories using the animation. And so the Gatchaman Science Team Ninja Gatchaman or something, I think was what it's called in Japan. But in the States, they rebranded it, called it Battle of the Planets, did the most amazing theme tune. So good, so good. And it's basically five youths, and they've got a ship called the Phoenix, and they go like this and go transmute, and they turn into these uh, sort of super warriors, and they've got like almost like bird type design hat,
Okay.
helmet, and little wings, and they've each got a different vehicle, and they all go onto the Phoenix, and also the Phoenix transmutes and turns into the fiery Phoenix. It's just super cool, and they even made like this little robot called Seven Dark Seven that narrates the story because obviously they had to try and make it make sense. All these different things they butchered together to make these episodes, so they created like an R2D2 type character to
Hmm.
narrate what was happening and intercut into scenes. I mean, it probably isn't very good if I watch it now, but I loved it, and the music was amazing. And I say the Fiery Phoenix, it's just one of those things you just can't I can't ever get out of my mind. So that is a an old school cartoon worth watching. They have come back to it and they've redone it a few times. I'm sure in the late 90s, maybe the early 2000s, it was called Eagle Riders. They basically did the same thing, butcher it again and changed their names and made it a
Huh.
different story. But um it's super cool, but and they just fantastic. There's quite a few. I think it's Dynamite Comics. Alex Ross has done quite a few covers and interiors for those for comics based on it as well. So that's where I've seen it more recently. So that's why I wasn't sure if it was something that was a bit more well known in the States or not. But definitely, yeah, that's probably the thing that no one knows about
Well, I like that.
when I'm talking geeky stuff.
No, no, no. I get that, and I'll scope it out. That's something for me to check out. Usually, for me, I understand. Like I've got a few of those too, and yeah, it's how you figure out who is like-minded people. You know, you mention a quote from something, and if somebody
Yeah.
catches it, they go, "I knew it." You know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, 100%. But I mean, again, I just loved when in the 90s we had like things like Farscape and
oh,
obviously and then going into 2000s like Buffy, all that sort of stuff I absolutely adored. Um, the remake of Battlestar Galactica I think is probably one of the best shows ever made. Just absolutely love it. Again, I went to Chicago the other year to the convention to see that, so that was amazing. That was a real highlight for me. Um, yeah, all those sort of things. I just love them. The only thing I haven't really got into ever was Stargate. I watched the original film, but I've never watched any of the shows, so I don't know if that's something I'm missing out on.
Stargate is something that I love. Like I'll show you when we're done, but I'm looking straight ahead, and I have a Stargate section of my room.
Oh,
So I have the gate. I have like all I have all of them. My my wife works at a thrift store, and
okay.
one day she sends me a picture or a text and says, "You like Stargate, right?" And she's like, "Do we have all the Stargates?" And I was like, "No." I said, "We have like season 10 and like season 1. That's it." She's like, "Do you want this?" And she sends me a picture and it's all 10 seasons in a box with the gate on the front of it. And I said, "Yeah, yeah, I'd love it." And she got it for a quarter. And
What?
I'm like,
Wow.
you, yeah, because nobody wanted it. It was just going to get thrown away. And I'm like, no. And so yeah, and there's another follower of mine. She posted she started watching Stargate, and I was like, oh, I got to send you the list of how to watch it because there's a proper watching order. And well,
Okay. Yeah.
because you hit season 7 and then they introduced Atlantis and then at one point they introduced so you kind of want to jump around so you get it in the proper order. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing too bad, but
Hmm.
it's still it helps. But I love Stargate. It has a great mythology, it's got great heart. There's so many Star Trek actors that have been in it and other like
Yeah.
pretty much in Battlestar Galactica, anybody that lives in like Vancouver area is going to be in the show, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good one. If you ever check it out, I mean, like the first The first four seasons are great. Don't get me wrong, but they're a little different because they were on a network called Showtime. It
Right?
was
Yeah.
a pay channel, and then they switched over to the Sci-Fi channel, and I think it got really good then.
Right.
Um, so it's kind of like anything. Like my wife gave me the greatest gift the other day. She's like, "Do you want to start watching Supernatural?" She'd never seen it, and I was like, "Yes, I do. Let's do it again."
Yeah.
And I said, and I'm realizing season one's a little rough. It's like,
Unfortunately, a lot of these things where you go back to, you find out the first seasons are a little bit rough. Yeah, a lot of these things we do put the old rose tinted glasses on when we think back. But the- again, I think when we were watching them and that, especially then, like there wasn't as many superhero things and stuff around. Like there was none of the Marvel films, and I think you were just so lucky to have some kind of sci-fi things, even like the more obscure things like Orphan Black and
oh yeah.
Millennium stuff like that. I loved all those. So and they were just yeah, Orphan Black actually. If you were going to highlight something that probably isn't super mainstream, I'd say that was such a
Did
fantastic show.
Did you watch the reboot or the continuation, the Orphan Black? What was it called? It was on just last year.
Oh no, I didn't even know about it.
Let me look up the title really quick. I don't want to misquote it. It a second. What was funny was my wife had never seen Orphan Black's Echoes. Orphan Black Echoes. It had Kristen Ritter in it, and let me see. It is says it streams in the UK on ITVX.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll dig it out. That's where I found 12 Monkeys, which I loved as well. Oh,
But it's only 10 episodes. Sorry, unfortunately, it did get canceled, so there is a cliffhanger. But spoiler. Sorry, but it's still worth seeing. It takes
okay.
place, say, like 15, 16 years after Orphan Black, and a lot of there's a few legacy characters that pop up,
Oh, good.
and so it's worth checking out. And it was a good companion piece. From what I understand, like it shot in 2023, it didn't air until late 2024, and by that time they decided to cancel it. And it didn't matter; everybody moved on to other jobs anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. It's a problem, isn't it?
yeah,
Was
but
that so? It must have got hit by the writer strikes and stuff then. Yeah,
probably I didn't. Yeah, I didn't even consider that.
yeah.
You're right, but yeah, it's worth checking out. Here it was on AMC, but I think it was. Oh, I want to say it was shot and aired in Canada even before it aired here. So
Okay.
it
Did you
was all over the
capture
place.
Revival? That was something I've seen recently. It was based on a comic by Tim Seeley and Mike Norton. It only just aired in the UK here on one. I think it was on Sky, but I don't know what channel it was on in the US. But that was it's like a little bit like the concept is on Revival Day, people that died on that day come back to life in this one little town. Uh, it's
What
pretty
was it
cool.
called? What was it called?
Revival,
Yeah, I've never
revival.
heard of it. No, I've never heard of that.
It's worth what I don't know if they're going to make a second season or not, but I really enjoyed it. Worth watching.
I'll have to check that out. I know there was one that I started to watch on HBO Max that was it had what's it called? It was like everybody like suddenly around the world everybody got I don't want to say died. It was a religious thing where they were all taken to heaven or whatever, but
Oh yeah, like the
the
Rapture.
the leftovers. It was called the
Yep,
leftovers.
yep, 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 yep,
I
yep.
got two episodes into it and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I told my wife, I was like, you come home, we're gonna check this show out. They took it off of HBO Max. And
Oh, what?
I'm like, well, all right, I guess I'm not gonna watch that. But
Was that one? I think it had something to do with Joss Whedon. did it? And he walked away from
Oh,
it because of all of
that's
the
it's a
different.
possibility.
I
I
think
mean,
so. I think he was involved at the beginning of it. I think.
I know he's kind of persona non grata now, which is sad. I mean, it's not sad. I
Yeah.
don't care about him, but like for us, like I loved Firefly and
It,
Serenity and Buffy,
and
and
Doll's House, everything he did was great. I loved
did
all those shows.
did you ever know? I mean, what was I read recently? I don't want to speak out of turn, so let me read this. Have you ever heard about the Dolly Parton connection to Buffy?
Didn't she finance it or something? Or
Yeah,
help? Yeah, I
yeah.
did hear something like
I
that.
had
Yeah.
no idea. I was like, man, and which I'm finding out ever since she was on the Orville, when Dolly was on the
Mm.
Orville, I found out how she's a big sci-fi fan, and I never would have known. And what made me kind of retroactively sad about it was my dad was the hugest, which is not a word, the
Mm.
biggest Dolly Parton fan, and just I would have given me something to talk to him about, but it's
Yeah.
way too late now.
Dolly Parton's an amazing woman. So I never really appreciated it until I met who's my now husband. He's the most massive fan of her, and just the things that she's done. Like she gives out the books for the kids in her state, and she put loads of money behind sort of helping people during COVID, and she is like a living saint. It seems like we're
Yeah,
actually coming. We're going to see her in Vegas in September,
sweet.
which I'm really excited about. But yeah,
Well, I look
yeah.
forward to seeing pictures.
You
So
will. You'll see lots of them.
yeah, yeah, that would I her and I mean there's a few really good people that you always hear good things and then you see the good things. I think like Taylor Swift, like we're Taylor fans here in the household, and
Right.
every honestly I could guarantee that there's Taylor music playing somewhere in this house. I don't know, but but yeah, it's and I have a hard time with this word. I can't say it right. They're philanthropists. Hey, I said it right. All right,
Yeah.
and they have really good hearts, and I appreciate that. Um,
It's nice to see people that actually do give back and, aren't just there completely for themselves. I wish them every success. People want people to do well, but, when they actually then take that and they give back to people and sort of recognize that not everyone's as lucky as them, I think that's a fantastic thing.
yeah, no, I agree 100%. I but
That's the
yeah,
Star Trek fan in us, isn't it?
it
You know,
is. It really
we want
is.
to see a
And
better world.
that's the thing. I mean, and that's you see it all too often. You see like when I don't not memes but posts where people say you can't be a Star Trek fan and support fill in the blank, and
Mm.
I agree. I agree 100%. Like how does someone say, oh, I love Star Trek. I love everything about Star Trek, but F this thing or F that is like no. No, no, you're not one of us. You're pretending. And
Yeah.
but and to me I think like the I hate to say memes, but the best meme I ever saw is like this is my family. It's a picture of the TOS crew. They're the ones that taught me morality and everything else,
Yeah.
and it's like kind of true. Although sometimes you look back and you think maybe Bones was a bit of an asshole. I'm not sure, but
Yeah. Again, it's weird, like because you never think of it, but then when you do go back and watch, you do think, oh yeah, they haven't really treated Spock particularly well, and the same with oh I've forgotten it completely now. My brain, the Vulcan in Voyager, he got
oh,
teased a lot for
Tuvok.
Tuvok, yeah, for just
Yeah.
being a Vulcan, and it's. But again, I don't think any of it was done with any hatred. There's a difference between being mean to someone or just being, like having at someone's, having a laugh at someone and that kind of thing. So I think back in the day, you can't excuse it, but you understand how it's happened and how these things were. But generally, everyone, I think, I'm sure they'd completely be shocked at that behavior if they were. around in our culture now. That's the
Yeah.
kind of thing. They wouldn't be doing it now, and that's a great thing. I'm desperate to ask you about, because I can see in your background the first Starship comic. You're the only person I know apart from me that's read it. What do you think?
I like it. I'm
I
enjoying
love
it.
the art.
Well, this one is from New York City Comic Con. It was a previous guest on the podcast, Sean Von Gorman, had drawn this cover, and he was going to be at New York
Right.
Comic Con, and I knew I wasn't going to be there. And a friend of mine was going to be, and I said, "Would you swing by and pick up a copy?" And he was kind enough
Yeah.
to autograph it for me.
Oh
So
wow.
I was like, "Well, you know what? Not only is he a guest, he's been a guest, but I
Yeah.
love the comic, and I already have two other comic covers." So I was like, we'll encapsulate that one, and
Yeah, I am a massive fan of the Star Trek comics. I think ever since really IDW, I mean, I
yeah.
did used to read the old Marvel, I don't know, DC TNG ones,
Mhm.
back in the 90s, but really since IDW took over, and things like the Dot Two and Next Gen crossover with Matt
Mhm.
Smith, but and then like Broken Mirror, and then more recent, I love what they did with the Defiant storyline and lore and lore wars and that kind of thing. It was really interesting stuff, and seeing Cisco in that was fantastic. I don't know if you've read any of those, but
Oh yeah,
all
I've read them.
fantastic. Yeah,
I occasionally I try to share on Thursdays. I try to share, my red alerts, something I've read,
yeah,
and I've been focusing on comics every now and then. But I've decided that now, starting in mid-March at least, in the past, as people watch this, Wednesdays, since Wednesdays is New Comic Book Day, I'm gonna go ahead and focus on comics. And
excellent,
I
excellent.
have so many Star Trek comics, and so it'd be something to highlight and share with people. And then you never know, somebody might see something that they want. But you're right. Like, you think back to Malibu, when
Mm,
Malibu used to do their crossovers. Malibu had the DS9 line,
they did,
and
yeah.
and then I think it was DC or Marvel. Was it Marvel?
DC had Next Gen for quite a while. I remember
Yeah,
collecting them. Just it was when Next Gen came off the air, and I was so desperate to anything Next Gen, so I was reading all the books and I was collecting every comic I could
yeah,
just to have something to do with Next Gen.
yeah. I have a lot. I don't have them all, obviously, but I've got a lot of really good ones and stuff. And then now they go into my pull list so that I don't miss anything. And then I'm pretty bad about this. I'll buy individual issues for certain lines, but then there are certain ones like when the Cisco version of Star Trek was out, or the Defiant, and the like lore war and all that. I waited till the trades were out, simply
Right.
because it was more cost effective.
Yes.
And
Yeah, but
but
not
like,
cheap.
yeah, but lower decks, I've been buying those individually. So many great artists on the lower decks, and I wanted to make sure I supported that monthly, and then that way they would continue on with that story. I figure I want to participate. I want to vote with my wallet of something I want. So
100%. That's the thing. I mean, and this is the thing. If you I always make it because I collect Marvel and DC and I use the app for that,
okay.
just because it's a lot cheaper. But I tend to buy independent comics. I just go and buy the physicals just because you want to support these things. Because I did used to try and wait for the trades, but I was always worried they weren't going to make it to a trade if we didn't buy the comics.
That was something that Ellie had told me, that you helped get her issue 1 of Homecoming.
Oh
And
yeah,
because see, I knew that she had missed it, and like I kept, I was like, how do we help? How do I help? And I'm like searching all this comic shops in her area, and I'm like, everybody was sold out. It was like something that kept being sold out, and I finally got to the point where like I knew I was gonna buy the trade, and I had issue 1. I thought, worst case
uh,
scenario, I'll send it to her, and then she's like, no, Colin got it for me. I was like, all right, we're good then. It was like, but
yeah.
I was glad to hear that, because I didn't want her to, because you can't read. I had the same problem when they did red shirts. I
Yeah.
didn't get issue one. So like I had issue two, three, four, and five, but I couldn't read them until I got issue one. And then, like, because that would be silly. So I had to go to the secondary market and,
Right.
pay out an outrageous price, but, at least I could read it. And I guess I could have waited till the trade, but I already had issue two, three, four, and five. So why do that?
It's
But
tricky. I'm gonna say I'm very lucky because I've built a couple of relationships with a few stores that actually stock my cards and my art prints. So yeah, I was very lucky. Like my friend Paul, who runs Cursed Earth Comics, managed to dig up those copies. So that was
that's
cool.
great. See, that's what the community is about, helping
Yeah,
each other.
yeah.
you know and that's what I want more people. This is my way of helping everybody else, and I hope, I want people to see your art. I want people to go to your page. Throughout this entire episode as it airs, your art's going to be popping up. It's like
Oh, okay.
I want people to see it. I want them to say, oh, I need that.
Oh, well, it's very kind of you, and I really do appreciate the support from people like yourself, from Ellie and Sean, and people like that who sort of put a spotlight on my stuff. I've been doing it because I love doing the art, and it was just something I wanted to do. But because people have actually been so positive about it, it's obviously spurred me on to do more and more. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you have that support. I'm glad that you're motivated, because keep creating. That's the best advice. Never stop creating. Because one day you're going to create something that's going to be so beautiful that it's going to inspire someone else, and they're going to create, and it becomes a domino effect of inspiration, and that's what the world needs. Otherwise, we're just going to fall into chaos. So
Yeah, it'd be nice if everyone was just get along, wouldn't it, and
it
support
would
each
be.
other
Well,
one day.
that's I'm trying a little bit here and there,
Yeah, you're doing great work, my friend. Great work.
Well, I appreciate your time, Colin. I really do. Like I said, everybody get out there, follow Colin on all the socials. It's on the screen. Stick around after the episode, and you'll see everything on the screen, where to follow him and where to find him. And if you're so inclined, pick up a piece of his art, have it hanging on your wall. I'm going to, as soon as there's no tariffs. So, but. But yeah, no, appreciate your time, Colin, and you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And I look forward to the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you.